What's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. How you guys doing? I am hanging in there. Baby and mom are still in hospital, but I still get to sneak away for a couple hours to make these videos for you guys. I reached out to my friend Adrian Piedra, who I had the chance to meet several times over in CCGS during the spring season. You guys know him. He's one of the best players in the entire world, finishing second in Latin America overall in the spring season. That means he's going to move on for a chance to win the $1 million after the fall season. From time to time, guys, I like to give decks that are performing really well inside the meta that I see on Stats Royale to pros and ask them basically, hey, is this kind of just a little blip on the radar, or do you think this deck could be really, really solid for a long time to come in this meta under these balance changes, I guess, since the last balance change? And Adrian played this deck that I'm showing you on the screen right now. Now, this deck is by far and away the #1 winning deck right now out of all the CCGS decks. So essentially, all the decks right now that every player played in the entire play-in phase of CCGS, the open phase, where everybody was playing thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of players, this deck was far and away the #1 win percentage deck, according to statsroyale.com, at over 70% win rate. So I gave it to Adrian, and I said, man, what do you think of this deck? Is it that incredible? I mean, it's like a pseudo Pekka control deck. It's really interesting. It includes my top 2 legendary cards, the Ewiz and the Bandit. We'll talk about subs in case you guys don't have them in just a minute. But, you know, is it really that powerful? And Adrian said, you know what? I played the deck, I won a grand challenge, but that's not saying much because he wins every freaking grand challenge. He's a beast, right? But he did say, you know what, I made a couple adjustments, and this is what you guys should be doing at home. You know, you see a deck, it's not quite working for you, you think to yourself, you know what, I'm really good with X, Y, or Z card. I really love Fire Spirits in all my decks. I don't care that it's not the most popular card right now in the meta. Go ahead and add Fire Spirits into the deck to make it your own. It's a meta deck that's your own because you're really comfortable and familiar with that card or that card combination. So in today's video, I'm going to show a few matches, the highlights from Adrian Piedra's second 12 win with this deck that he really loves. It's kind of a little twist, little variation of that winning deck. And at the end, I'll go ahead and play the match with the #1 deck. Now, there's only 2 card substitutions. There's minions in for bats, and there's ice spirits in for dark prince. So in the last battle, we'll go ahead and play with that variation. The Dark Prince in for the Ice Spirit, and of course minions in for bats. Now we are making the deck just a little bit more expensive, but heck, this deck has the Elixir Collector. And you guys know the Elixir Collector is quickly becoming my favorite card. You guys probably saw my video where I gave my 3 #1 tips to become a better player immediately, and one of those tips was, if you're not playing a cycle deck and you can find a natural fit for it, go ahead and play the Elixir Collector. It makes medium average skill players a little bit better because you can manufacture that positive Elixir advantage. It's a unique card like no other in the game. So I love this deck because it's a pretty cheap deck for a control deck, considering it has that 6-cost Elixir Collector in it. Of course, it has Zap and Poison. We're seeing a lot of Zap and Poison decks together right now in the meta. It's a really strong combination, especially with all those mid to low range HP units going around, skeleton armies, or of course even bats, of course with Zap, and minions and minion horde for the poisons. So you really have an answer for almost anything defensively that's currently popular inside the meta. And of course, with this deck, it is, like I mentioned, a control deck. It's not a beatdown deck, so although you can see Adrian actually connecting with the Pekka on that left tower, it's not necessarily a deck that you're going to be relying on these big monster pushes behind your Pekka. Pekka is mainly, she's a defensive tool. I love Pekka, by the way. I'm so happy she is back in the meta right now. I mean, it's been probably a few months, I say right now, but it's definitely the Pekka meta. And I gotta say, guys, I'm happy about it. I really am. I think that the Pekka is a super awesome card. She is a powerhouse. And it's strange to think that just 5 months ago, Pekka usage rates was nil, nada, zip, nothing. There was no Pekka in the meta, and all of a sudden she's everywhere. Thanks to bridge spam, thanks to beatdown decks, thanks to all the other shifts in the meta, now she's incredibly viable. So let's go ahead and talk more about this deck, guys. Let's talk about the 2 legendary substitutions first off here. So you do, of course, have the E-Wiz. E-Wiz, I ranked #1 legendary card in the game. It is so difficult to stop or to substitute for the E-Wiz without taking a hit. The obvious substitution is going to be, you guys guessed it, the Musketeer. That's a good win condition if you want to get that same point damage utility. She actually deals much more damage than the E-Wiz, however, much less effective, especially against like air decks, where you really rely heavily on that E-Wiz to stop those balloons and the multi-target ability of the E-Wiz, and of course the retargeting ability of the E-Wiz. So, you know, I would go with Musketeer. If you want to get a little crazy, go with the Ice Wizard. Now, if you play the Ice Wizard, I would recommend using the minion, the Adrian Piedra version of the deck, because you need more air power if you're going to roll with the Ice Wiz. It still will be a relatively weak deck against air if you're going to substitute the Ice Wiz in for the E-Wiz. However, Musketeer or Ice Wiz would be your substitution for the E-Wiz. The Bandit is another kind of tough substitution. However, you can use the Knight. It's a classic Bandit substitution. It's not the same card by any stretch of the imagination. However, what you can do as well, besides the Knight, if you want to go a little bit crazy, a little bit more offensive, you can sub in the Battle Ram or the Dark Prince if you're not playing the Dark Prince version for the Bandit, and it gives you that charge ability that you have with that Bandit in the deck. A little bit more expensive, but remember at 3.8, it's really a cheap deck, or 4.0 if you're using the other variation. It's still a pretty cheap deck for control, considering it does have that Elixir Collector. Okay, so here we go, shutting down this interesting deck here. Adrian is playing against this guy playing the Mega Knight Mirror deck. Look what he does with it too. He jukes out the Pekka out of Adrian and then connects with the mirrored Mega Knight, level 2 Mega Knight, and the Goblin Barrel. Now, with the arrows at the ready there, he could have done a lot of damage with that Goblin Barrel. However, Adrian does a really nice job kiting that Mega Knight into the other lane, and now he's got a little push of his own going. However, look at all these swarm units. Adrian goes ahead and uses the poison against that first horde, but then he used the zap, I think, as well against the horde there. He might have wanted, in retrospect, I think he forgot he was rocking against the mirror there, so essentially, hypothetically, he could go against 2 minion hordes and a skeleton army in the same little push, but look at that. He still gets the bandit to the tower, able to cycle all the way back to the poison. That's the beauty of this deck. Now look at this offensively. Takes a little bit of a gamble. He goes ahead and he tries to kite that Mega Knight, but he's taking a lot of damage from that Goblin Barrel. Luckily, he finishes off the match, taking that left tower with the Pekka and the minions on the left. Now, of course, the Pekka and the minions, we said this wasn't a Pekka beatdown deck, but let me tell you, I've been playing this deck a little bit too in the hospital room. We're still in the hospital. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. But you know what does kind of suck is total side note here. Playing Clash Royale like really casual. You guys know how it is. Not every time you pick up the game, it's not like you're hardcore into the game. Maybe these pros are, but some of us just kind of want to play a game and whatever, right? So that's what I've been doing. And, you know, I have my mind on many other things. And some people just mercifully BM'd me after making dumb mistakes. And of course, they have no way of knowing that here I am with my girlfriend in intensive care, my baby in intensive care. But it's just like goes to show you, thank God there's a mute button, right? Thank God there's a mute button. Just gonna have to share that little side note story there. Anyway, guys, we're going to go against Lava Loon because I thought it was very important to show you guys how to handle an air deck. So I specifically asked Adrian how to handle this air deck here, and he showed me this great replay. He's going also against Inferno Dragon. So the opponent here, Noah the Royale, actually has a good answer for a lot of things that Adrian can feasibly throw at him. Now, with any Lava Loon deck, you want to do exactly what Adrian's doing right here. You want to make sure you're pushing the other lane, pressuring the other lane rather heavily. The general rule of thumb, guys, the less air defense you have in your deck, the strong air targeting troops, for example, if you don't have that E-Wiz and the Inferno Tower in the same deck where you can easily shut down a Lava Loon push, the harder you want to go in the opposite lane, not allowing your opponent to go ahead and support that Lava Loon push. You're going to be totally screwed if you don't have a lot of air answers, especially if they're carrying like lightning and all you have is an E-Wiz. That's why you play the E-Wiz first way in the back, or the Musketeer first way in the back, just talking general here, not specific to this situation, and then you go hard in the other lane. They're going to stop your units in the other lane, and then they're going to be forced to either choose the balloon or the lightning to stop your E-Wiz or your Musketeer in the defending lane. So that's how you want to handle these air decks. Go harder if you have to. Exchange towers. Even that would be advisable. Rather than just kind of sitting there on your hands and waiting for a big monster push to come in the other lane. So Adrian actually goes for the 3 crown here, and I don't know. In retrospect, that might have been a mistake. But of course, we talked about this just now. You have to pressure the other lane. He didn't get the Pekka to the tower, and he opts to just keep going because he wants to cycle to that E-Wiz and stop Noah again from dropping that balloon. So that was actually a really good defensive sequence there for Adrian. Now, with only a minute left in the match, look what's going to happen here. He uses an interesting combination. The same time that Adrian is dropping that Pekka down, he actually connects with the Inferno Dragon and the balloon. Balloon will get to the tower. Inferno Dragon will also get to the tower. And check it out, guys. He has the E-Wiz, but he opts to play in the right instead of the left, causing that Inferno Dragon to take down that left tower. Now, it looks like Adrian has this in the bag, but look at this. I mean, think about it. The one thing this deck is kind of lacking is that big spell, that big finishing spell. So what is Adrian going to do here? Well, he's going to slow play it. He has no choice, guys. The opponent drops the Lava Hound way in the back, so Adrian's going to have to just defend and try to counter push behind that Pekka afterwards. So here it goes. He's going to still pressure the other lane with a Bandit. Noah actually makes a really smart decision there. Totally ignores the Bandit so he can help support this push. Hopefully take down this tower for Noah. Hopefully not for our friend Adrian. Adrian did a really smart move there. I'm not sure if you guys caught it, but he used the Ice Spirit to kind of reset that balloon's drop damage. Otherwise, he definitely would have lost that tower there. So that was a clutch Ice Spirit. It actually ended up saving the tower. And although at this point, the opponent could just zap Fireball, he has to be worried about this big push coming from Adrian. Now here comes a beautiful Fire Spirit, Ice Spirit again, and a zap, stopping that balloon just in the nick of time for that Bandit to connect with the tower. That was a really close match by Adrian, but nonetheless, he pulls out the victory there. Maybe in hindsight, a few little things could have been done differently, but guys, as I promised, I want to go ahead and switch to the normal deck, the deck that had the 71% win rate or something ridiculous like that. And I want to go ahead and show you. Okay, guys, I admit I didn't record this live. I recorded this about half an hour ago, and I'll just give you guys a play-by-play onto what I was thinking here. It was the first match after I recorded these replays, and I ran into another level 13, which was good because it is early on in the season still, and I haven't played a lot for obvious reasons. Now, this deck is also a monster deck. Maybe you've already tried the Adrian version of this deck, and you think to yourself, okay, it's pretty good, but it's just not suiting me perfectly. Well, try this version, guys. This is the version of the deck that Adrian didn't like that much. I go ahead and I opt to block that Miner with the E-Wiz, and I decided to get a little aggressive here. I decided to sneak in that Dark Prince and see what my opponent has. A pretty good Night play there, but I'm able to take advantage of that Zap spell, chipping away a little bit at the Elixir Collector and doing a little bit of chip damage to the tower, and then I'm just going to rely on these bats here defensively. Now, I could have been a little bit screwed if my opponent had a Zap spell. Taking out my bats, he might have gotten a lot of damage on my left tower before that Knight could be taken down. However, I do get lucky, no Zap in hand, and we are sitting pretty right now. And I know that he has Minion Horde as his big defensive stopper. I'm going to make sure I save my poison for that instead of just using it aggressively on the push. Now, here it is, Three Musketeers. Okay, well, I stand corrected. I'm going to opt to use the poison here on the Three Musketeers. I have Zap Ray just to see if he plays anything else, but otherwise, we're going to ignore these two Musketeers on the left. No reason to handle them, and we're going to play the Dark Prince and the E-Wiz, kind of doubling down on a counterattack on the right there. I use my Zap spell against those Minion Horde. As we talked about, we have to have either the Zap or the poison for the Minion Horde. That is going to be paramount. We don't want to be wasting the Zap on the Goblins here. Always important, as I always say, guys, to think about your spells and how your opponent wants you to be using your spells. That's a really important kind of thought exercise to go through every match, in my opinion. Okay, my spells are poison and zap. How does my opponent want me to be using those spells? And if you fall into that trap and you're using the spells the way your opponent wants you to be using them, well, hey, that's going to be bad for you, good for the opponent. So try to identify that early. Are they trying to bait out a spell here, such as, you know, trying to bait out my poison with a minion horde? Just be aware of that. So in the left, I can see the Musketeers going to reach the tower before the knight. I'm still going to use bats against them. I probably could have defended this, well, definitely could have defended this a little bit better on the right. My E-Wiz took an unnecessary amount of damage, but check out this counter push, guys. It's going to be monster. He uses arrows there to take it down my E-Wiz, but who cares, guys? I have a lot going down that lane. Dark Prince, Pekka, Bandit, E-Wiz, forget it. That tower is going to be down. I decided to double down here with only 19 seconds left or so, and I played the Pekka by himself naked in the left lane. You know, it might not have been the best play in the world, but I did bait out his Ice Spear and his minion horde, giving me an opportunity to take them down with the poison. No elixir left and no time left. I'm able to pull off the 3-crown with the Pekka on the tower. So guys, I hope you enjoyed these Pekka decks. Best of luck with them. They're a lot of fun. As I talked about, Pekka is back, baby. I'm happy about it. She's been back a while, Ash. Newsflash, dude. But still, I'm happy with the Pekka meta. I hope you guys enjoy this best Pekka deck in the game. Stats, that's what they say. They back me up there, guys. Huge shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Check him out in the description below. I want to thank you guys for all the messages of love and support about baby Charlie. I haven't decided what I want to call him yet. It's Charles, but I think Charlie fits a little boy better. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. And as always, take care, guys.